As they say, good morning, good morning. It is a new day. As I like to say, every day's a new day. Whew. Excuse the yawn. My name is Red Moon Eagle, and you are watching Daily Devotions. It is Thursday. I think it's April 8th. No, it's got to be the 11th. I'm running out of days. Anyway, so today is April 11th, Thursday, and we are in the tide of renewal, the spring equinox to the summer solstice. And what we do here is we look at what oracle cards are drawn, and then we talk a little bit about it. How do we use and how do we have take the message of the cards, and how do we take that into our daily lives and think about it? And what does that mean? And what is that beginning conversation about, and how we are navigating the world? It's interesting that I've had a couple people send me private messages congratulating me on my co-authorship in a book that came out this week. And I thank you. I thank all of you who have read the book, ordered the book, etc. Any of you who buy a physical book from Amazon and you find me somewhere out in the wilds, I am happy to sign your book. But one of the things that came up was that I've had a couple more people find me on YouTube, and they want to know, well, what is Daily Devotional? So that's why I was explaining that today, that Daily Devotional is we take oracle cards, we have a theme, and we think about, it's really very much like, what is the messaging and how do we take that out into the world? And I haven't, I guess, really gone over what that means. So today I'm going to take a little bit more time to walk through what Daily Devotional is and how we do it, and maybe I just made an assumption that it would, these go out into the world and people would figure it out, and maybe not. When I say I will see you in prayer, also at the end, it's because this is an exercise for me. This is how it started many, many years ago, is that I wanted, needed, and thought it would be a good idea that I do this every morning. I take cards and I journal about them. I have my journal here, and I draw pictures, and I process the ideas. I pull together, like, what dream did I have, and what was this circumstance, and what was the lesson for this, and what did I get out of that? And for me, the journaling process with daily devotion can last like an hour to an hour and a half in the morning. It kind of depends on the morning, depends on how much time I have, if I have appointments, etc. But it is one of my morning routines. I'm going to sit and I'm going to contemplate. I am going to find my place of peace before I do my day. And part of daily devotional is also breath. It is charging my tea in the morning. I have a cup of tea. I've already had 2 glasses of water before I have my first cup of tea, and sometimes by daily devotional it's my second or third cup of tea, which is okay. I've done movement already in the morning. I have sometimes eaten, sometimes it's my bullet tea, that's the only calories I've had, protein calories. And it is a moment that I use to integrate the dreams that I've had, the journeys I've done, what some people call downloads. I talk to my guides. Sometimes I do a map session in the morning. And it is a time that I have cultivated in my life to be mine. So what's interesting about this is that the way my husband's schedule works is that he's up and gone so early in the morning. It's really, I have leaned into using that time as me time, especially since the kids have all graduated from high school and they're off in and doing their lives. It is a time where the world is still waking up. They're still figuring out what to do with their day. And Astra is with me. She's my kitty cat animal companion. And she loves it that I get up and I feed her and then I sit in my chair and she will come up and down and she will visit. And it's a really nice centering time for the preparation for this frenetic day, right? Like every day in our world is a go, 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 go. And I find that I can and do thrive in a go, go, go to a certain extent. But I also need that time for devotional. I need the time to connect my body, mind, spirit, emotion to the integration and preparation for being out in community. And one of the things that I have always been extraordinarily passionate about, and also as succinctly or coincidentally or side by side with that passion for community, is that I don't have a large community myself. I yearn it, crave that connection, and yet I need to have my own time. And with community connection, who I am as an entity and how I move in the world is something that I get a lot of questions about. So Daily Devotions has been the tool I have used, especially since 2017-ish, to create an opportunity for others to join with me in this in their own time. And also, there's not a lot of activity in the comment section, but I do have a fair amount of instant messages and emails that come through, and people do reach out. People do pass me in the I mean, I've had people pass me at fairs and go, "Oh, I love your daily devotion. I watch you like 3 times a week," or whatever it is. So I don't have a lot of subscribers. I think I have a few more that follow that haven't necessarily subscribed, and that's okay, because this is a topic that maybe you don't want the algorithm picking up on, and that's okay too. I have no judgments. Okay, we're gonna start in on the cards. So this week I am using the Egyptian God Oracle cards in conjunction with the ones that we've normally used. I was felt drawn to it, and I'm just leaning into it. I don't know why, but we're just gonna follow where that wisdom takes us. So in the Sacred Self-Care, we drew 29, journal. Abundant wisdom resides within me. And I like how this card the book is written. Journaling is a profound, intimate, powerful practice, one that provides a safe space for self-expression and channeling wisdom. It's just what you need to get your thoughts in order to process emotions. If you're unsure where to start, try writing about what's currently happening, and whatever comes to your mind, surrender to your stream of consciousness. The journal prompt for today: what thoughts or stories would be helpful for you to write about to gain more clarity? I have talked about journaling for years and years and years, and one of the things that I think there's a little bit of a giggle in this for me, because I remember one of the first times my dad and I talked about journaling, and he bought me this book that wasn't much taller than this, but it was like this thick, and it had every single day of the year in it. I remember it was brown, and it was a really nice fancy cover. It looked very fancy. And he said he was really trying to be encouraging for me to write. And he said, you have a lot of thoughts, like, because we would have these deep conversations. And I know sometimes the conversations, my dad was probably like, oh my God, here we go again. totally sympathize with him. But my grandpa used to, he was a farmer in South Dakota, of all places. Well, he was also an ex-Air Force pilot, an ex-banker, an ex-farmer, an ex-investor, he's done a lot. He had done a lot of things before he passed. And he used to use those little moleskin little thingies, and he always had one in his pocket, and he wrote all kinds of stuff down. So I was always encouraged to write, and I did. I wrote a lot. And when I was much younger, I think I went very sporadic. You know, I'd write pretty consistently for 3 or 4 months, and then I wouldn't write anything. And I actually stopped writing when I realized my mother was reading my journals. So there are sections of time that I have no written record from my own past because of privacy. And that's a lot about me, and I don't mean it to be that way. What I wanted to talk about with journaling was that there's a component in journaling that helps there's a little bit of neuroscience about it. Being able to write out what it is you're thinking, it doesn't even have to be organized sentences or proper punctuation or spelling or any of that. It's the process of allowing your brain to basically regurgitate what's spiraling in your head, and also allowing your body and your mind, right, in cohesion to release the stuff underneath that maybe you're uncomfortable talking about or processing out loud. So there is a thing with journaling. Okay, Egyptian Gods Oracle. 27, Satet, fruitfulness. Satet, fruitfulness. She is depicted as a woman with a crown of the Upper Egypt and 2 gazelle horns on top. Her name derives from one who pours, which symbolizes the floods of the river Nile, or she who runs like an arrow, that is the current of the flowing river. In fact, she represents the natural forces and phenomenon. She is a goddess of fertility. She could signal a successful start to a new project or a new job. If you're in search of love, Satet can help you answer your wishes. If you're already in a relationship, she can bring stability because she protects new projects. Very nice. New projects. So we're going to dive into that one in a little bit. Okay, new projects. Animal Spirit Guidebook. Yay. Oyster. Oyster, patient secret keeper, hiding inner treasures. The focus and determination of the oyster is unmatched. Anything an oyster personality puts their mind to, they can achieve with grace and charm. The only problem is, oyster types often take their inner gifts for granted. They become shy or doubtful, and this can lead to withdrawing and protecting the deepest desires of life's work. When the oyster appears, it's important to reveal your inner treasures. What is it you've been hesitant to share? The world is waiting to see. When in balance, feels blessed, generous, masterful. When out of balance, reluctant, griping, clams up. To bring into balance, share something. Oyster. Okay. Mystic Shaman Oracle. The Wild Woman. We have some themes here today. When the Wild Woman dances into your reading, she reminds you of the essence of authenticity and freedom. Divested of all social constraints and cultural conformity, the Wild Woman holds up a mirror to your essential self, the true essence of who you are and who you're meant to become. She's a reminder of the bright light within each of us that gets dimmed by the restrictions imposed on us by expectations of society. She reminds us that in order to be a fully present to life, we must uncover that light and let it shine brightly, regardless of the perceived consequences. The invitation of this card. When Wild Woman dances into your reading, you're invited to shine brightly and to know that your true self is being called out to engage in the world. This is a symbol that your long-held dream is beginning to take root and wants to be expressed. Your authentic self doesn't fit in that box. It needs freedom to shine. It's time to have courage and step into the light. The wild woman says, shine brightly, dance with abandon, be yourself, and let the Great Spirit decide what happens. You'll be happy you did. The medicine of this card, excess for its own sake, is a sign of imbalance. It's a warning that you may be trapped in obsessive thinking or behavior, looking for release in places that will never provide it. Let go, lest you become the hungry ghost of the Chinese Buddhist lore that can never be fulfilled. True release comes from trusting the fluidity of life, understanding that just as a river needs its banks to flow through, so too do you need boundaries around your thinking and behavior. It is now time to simplify, be mindful, and connect with the light within. Oh, powerful card here. Okay. So tying all these together. So this is the other part of Daily Devotional. I pull the cards, I read them, and I tie them together. So a lot of times the big card, what I call the big card, the big juicy card kind of bumps out. And I've noticed that this particular deck, it's the Shaman card that when I pull them for the morning, it's this is the juicy card. So when the wild woman dances in, she reminds you of the essence of authenticity. She reminds us that in order to be fully present in life, we must uncover the light and let it shine, regardless of the perceived consequences. And to not look for excess and not be trapped in obsessive thinkings and behaviors. I love how it says your authentic self doesn't fit in a box. It needs freedom to shine. Okay, so journaling. We're going to go back to journaling. One of the exercises that I have used with clients for far back as I can remember is encouraging people to write it down, get it out of your mind, get it out on paper. And I am completely okay with journaling when you're typing, because I have two ways of journaling. One is get a pen, use a piece of paper, and write. The second kind of journaling is I just have to get it out as fast as I can get it, and I type. The third tool that I use is voice to text, and then that gets put into an electronic document. And the reason that I use and have used for a long time the writing one is the writing one slows everything down. It's like kind of like a somatic thing, right? Like I am slowing everything down and taking my time to write it all out. I had a client fairly recently, and she said, "Oh, but it takes so much time." And I went, "Yes." She goes, "Half of the things I'm thinking, by the time I'm done writing, I can't get them out." I went, "That's okay. The point is not to get it all out necessarily. I mean, if you want to, you can. But it's a process. It's a process of emotional dumping in a safe place for you. You're dumping it onto paper, you're getting it out, and it's a safe thing to do. Now, the other part of journaling is a boundary thing. It's the medicine of this other thing. It is simplifying your mind. It's getting all of the things that you were thinking of, that your brain was holding on to, your body was holding on to, and our mind, heart, body, spirit connection knows that when we're circling about something, there's a reason for it. And there's a sense sometimes that there's an urgency to not forget, not let it go, hold on to things that we don't need to. So journaling will help release that. Now, our next card, interesting, is Satet. And in Satet, I definitely get that reinforcement of a new project could be a new journal. Could be a new way of getting it out. It could be drawing. I actually have had a project kind of cooking in the background. I do not need another project. I really, really don't. But I do have another project cooking in the background. It's something that is wanting to come forward, so I was writing about it this morning. for a little bit. You want to come forward, Astra? You can come up. I've been moving books and stuff around. She's like, are you sure it's okay to be in your lap? Oh, there you go. Did you join us? It's spring and the birds have decided to start flying out in the trees, and she just loves them. Okay, so we have birth of a new thing, fertility, new project. I love Satet. Satet is fruitfulness. She's saying you can do the thing. Journaling, getting it out. And then oyster. Oyster is a fun card. Patient, secret keeper, the inner treasures. So anything the oyster puts their mind to, they achieve. When the oyster card appears, it's important to reveal your inner treasures. There's a lot of discussion right now out in the world. There's all these apps, there's all these weird ads that I keep seeing about reveal your inner psychic and connect to your Akashic records and find your abundance, and there's a lot of stuff out there. I get that. I get it. I get people want, especially in our economy, people want more money. They want stability. They don't want to be homeless. They want a good job. They want to feel connected and loved and have purpose. And our society, because I grew up in this world, I know as well as the next person that success, to many people's paradigm, because it's been taught to them with such fervor, is money. Success is money. Success is a particular job title. I've gone through the gauntlet with this. And there is a sense of when you're not sure where your purpose is, because you're looking for it from the outside. And oyster, if you look at the oyster, think of what an oyster is. It's a mussel inside of a hard shell. Everybody has the potentiality to protect their inner self. And sometimes the world teaches us we have to protect all of those gooey inner things and never ever show it out into the world. There is a great deal of wisdom in this oyster symbolism. It's a water animal. It is, think of where pearls come from. There's that little thing that you chew on over and over and over again, and it's irritating, so you throw that slime around, it becomes hard, and next thing you know, you have this amazing pearl. And oysters are an amazing symbol for creativity, self-expression, the inner wisdom that is beautiful and shiny. And yeah, there's a little bit of like the analogy of how people talk about, a lot of pressure creates a diamond, but oyster does it differently. It's an irritating thing. It's something that you've been chewing on for a long time, and then it emerges and it's this beautiful thing. And when you release the pearl from the oyster can continue life. Ethical and environmental oysterers, they don't kill the oyster. There are stories of oysters that have existed for a really long time that have made pearl after pearl after pearl. And when in coherence, with cohesion with Mother Earth herself, with adaptability and connection, Earth herself provides. And then we have the Wild Woman. And I don't know what it is about this week. I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up. Is this like Feminist Week or something? I have noticed every single card, both the ones I'm doing for y'all and the ones that I just do for myself, are all wrapped around feminine power. So there is something about that this week that I think is really, really important. I think there's a call to action here somewhere. Not just for me. I'm already kind of I've been borderline radical feminist my whole life. um, I used to have a T-shirt that said something to the effect of, "It's not feminism. I just don't want to be your doormat." Like I used to wear that T-shirt all the time. So this card pulls it all together. The wild woman holds a mirror up to your essential self, your true essence of who you are and what you're meant to become. She is a reminder of the bright light within each of us that gets dimmed by the restrictions imposed by the expectations of society. She reminds us that in order to be fully present to life, we must uncover that light and let it shine, regardless of perceived consequences. The wild woman comes to dance in your reading. You're invited to shine brightly. It's a symbol of long-held dreams beginning to take root. Your authentic self doesn't fit in a box. The wild woman says, shine brightly, dance with abandon, be yourself, let the Great Spirit decide what happens. You'll be happy you did. And the medicine is excess for the sake of imbalance, or the sake of excess. And the one thing that I find fascinating, there's a shadow light journey in this. So at the very beginning of this, I mentioned that I have been very blessed to be involved in a multi-author book. And it came out on Monday, and it's Shadow Alchemy. And there's something interesting that I want to ponder with that. There's several things with Wild Woman that came up this morning when I was looking at the cards and journaling. One is that book is a magnificent example of a snapshot of the intersectionality of women in the United States. It can't be a full, plethora, but there are women of color, there are women of different sexual identity, different social class, different immigrant, have you been in the United States or did you immigrate? Are you descendants? I believe there's many cultures represented, right? And my own intersectionality in that book is fascinating to me, and how I came into that group and the events. And so there's a message there. There's a message. Each author brought a piece, and each author brought a piece that they may not even be aware of the shadows in their presence in that book, or their light, right? And there's another thing that comes up with Wild Woman this week is, so that's the first glimpse of this plethora of women's potential power. And then there is this glimpse of how perceived power, for many people, women's power seems to be tied into a job title and how much money, right? Because that's the patriarchal capitalistic framework that women who wanted to vote, women who wanted to be successful, women who wanted to have a slice of this American pie, right? They're like, women went out west and started doing things like founding towns and being politically active, especially like Wyoming, Montana. Like there's even in California and Oregon, there's huge things that were happening, and amongst genocide, amongst deforestation, amongst all the bad things that happen, right, that have created our current environment, there was a push for women to have their rights. And there's a reality that we're looking at right now, which is, why all of a sudden do women not have their rights? Why is it being rolled back? Why is all of this power that we thought we had gained going away? And I challenge that it's what the Wild Woman card is showing us. It's that we have tried to do our life through someone else's paradigm. Your authentic self doesn't fit in a box. It needs freedom to shine. The idea of what a woman is and when she's successful currently, in many ways, is following a paradigm established hundreds of years ago in colonialism. And it's in juxtaposition between, is a successful woman one who has a whole bunch of kids, raised her kids well, and worked full-time, and did this, and cleaned the house, and did all this, and is that success? Or is a successful woman honoring her wild woman within? Is she stepping outside of the confines of what other people think success is? And that's what I see as the challenge. I see that in the book that I just was involved in. I see that every single card this week has been about women. It's been about stepping into what our power really is. It's not stepping into my power and becoming a CEO of a billion-dollar business. That's not power to me. Power to me is also not going out and finding myself a rich husband to take care of me so that I can get my nails done and go get my hair done and hang out with a whole bunch of women and play golf. That is not success to me. That's toxic security, maybe. Sounds like misery to me, but success looks different for women in general. But as a collective community of women, what does success look like to us present in the world and out in the world? We do not know the answer to that question. Not collectively, we don't. It's not been discussed that way. Success for women has always been in a masculine paradigm. Now it has changed, it's shifted, it's moved around a little bit, I get that. And maybe it sounds very philosophical and ethereal and up in the brain pan, but this is a felt sense of knowing that I've seen it amazing in the last 10, 15 years where women are like, we have to come together, we have to support each other, we have to be not toxic with each other, we can't tear each other down. Men's communities versus women's communities, how they treat each other. You know, we have to heal ourselves to heal our children, to then be available to help heal our men. Women are mothers, sisters, grandmothers. We give life. And right now, the topic of whether or not we are forced to give life or have autonomy over our bodies is a really big, hot topic. And it's a topic that, in my humble opinion, a politician who sat in a seat for 60 years has no business making that decision. That's my decision. This is my body. And you might not agree with it, but it is my body. And there are layers out in the world right now of perceived power and control and perceived fixing a problem that just create more inequity. It creates more of a refusal to look at all the layers of intersectionality. Life is complex. Laws and rules and all of the things that we go by in our lives to have an orderly society also are very layered and complex. And the system might seem very broken. I'm not going to argue that. There are things that are sincerely screwed up. And I bring this forward as part of the question. Is it really screwed up because this perceived sense of power and how it's wielded in the world, and are all voices being heard? And it's not the same thing as the exercise of, I know you all went through it in elementary school, or at least my generation did, where, you'd have, everybody gets a vote, right? And everybody in class wants, there's a difference between having cupcakes for your party, or if you're gonna have punch or a cake, or whatever it was. In elementary school, we practiced democracy, right? Everybody got a vote. And we were taught that as exercises because the idea was, if you practiced it early and exercised it, you would exercise it out in the world, and you would learn what community societal cohesion would be, right? The problem with voting and not being heard and not having representation is that sometimes the outcome would go against a felt sense of rightness or wrongness, because there was no actual heardness, right? Like, I remember there was something in PE, and I think we played dodgeball for like 4 weeks in a row once, and it was awful. I hated it. Least favorite game. I love the running part. I just don't like the dodgeball part. And one of the things that I realized really quickly in this particular class that I was in was that the bully, the person that had the most power, the bully, the popular bully, I say quote unquote popular bully, she was awful. She was mean. She was vicious. She was a bully. She had, when I came into that class halfway through the year, or I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I came in like school had already started. And boy, I figured out really quick that she was nice, but she was a bully. And I mean that her niceness was fake. If she didn't get what she wanted, if our classmates didn't all pull the same direction, she made sure everybody suffered. So anytime there was like a vote in PE for an activity, she would say first, I want to play dodgeball. And the teacher, thinking that they were paying attention, would go, well, does anybody want to pay this or that or the other? And the whole class, because they were so cowed by her, would go, no, we want to play dodgeball. And I learned like that very first week. If I said no, I didn't want to play dodgeball, I had weird things happen. Like somebody poured water in my shoe one day. There were a lot of really mean words. I got really nasty, threatening notes on my desk. It was awful. So practicing democracy sounds like a good idea, but we have all been in that place where we've been cowed or bullied, and she got a kick out of that power. And honestly, as I've never looked her up, but by the time I left that year, like, she had the whole, not just our class, but the other class also bullied. So there's a layer of recognizing that all voices need to be heard. There is a sense of inequity in our world. People have power just for the sake of power. People have money for the sake of money. And there are so many amazing men and women in our world. Men too. There are some amazing men who are working really hard to bring equity into the world. But Wild Woman brings us to where are we in building our world? Why are we, I've had this problem my whole life. It's, we invite you to come into a place, we would like you to change it, we would like you to fix this paradigm. Great, I'll do that. And then they go, but we don't really want you to change it outside of this framework. Then why do you want? Sometimes change breaks the framework, and that's not always a bad thing. And certainly going back to old patterns and old behaviors that are toxic and historically awful does not honor the wild women. We have this inner wisdom, and we need to bring it forward into the world. So, daily devotional summary for today is: lean into your own creativity, bring it forward, Lean into the opportunities for creative thinking and creative action in the world. You have a pearl of wisdom. You've been chewing on it for a really long time. Allow that to come forward. Be creative, get it out, do a new thing. When you see a new opportunity, go with it. And then Wild Woman, which is be authentic. And there is wisdom in being fully present, uncover your light, shine, regardless of the perceived consequences. Shame for having a pearl of wisdom, disappointment in not being seen, and fear of what that's going to do. These are all real things that we all have experienced, and that's okay. Lean into it. What is the shadow that you're facing that prevents you from being the wild woman in the room, saying the thing that needs to be said? How do we reframe? How do we fix it? How do we fix our microcosm to fix the macrocosm? How do we do that? I don't have answers to these questions, but what I do have is a list of cards that say lean into it, lean into the creative moments in the day, speak your wisdom out in the world, let yourself be seen, and we can change the world, and we can change the world for better. So I hope you all have a beautiful day, my friends. I did say it was going to be a longer daily devotional in the beginning, obviously quite a bit longer. I'm taking a little bit more time, but daily devotional is about what are the cards showing us, and what is that message we're taking forward into the world, and how do they connect, and what are the feelings, what are the things you're taking forward in the world, and what are you doing differently to empower yourself, to be heard, to be seen. And your power is in your pearls that you carry. It's not power in, oh my God, I'm the CEO of a thing, or there was a conversation I had somebody recently, like, I'm not the guru of everyone. I do daily devotionals because I just want to share. I want to share. I know I'm not the only one having these thoughts. And I know we need each other. We need more people to say, be authentic, be real, be out in the world and share your pearls. And as in Body of Nine, there is an understanding that there are 9 different kinds of wisdom. And the 9 different kinds of wisdom need to be heard in the world and used in the world and acknowledged and brought into cohesion to transform. We have a good foundation. I'm not saying that the things the way they are all awful, throw it all out with the baby with the bathwater. I get that trigger. And at the same time, the foundations do need to change. Apparently, we kind of do need to change the water out. And we might need to look at what kind of baby we're holding in that bathwater. Is it alive? And I know it sounds like a morbid thought, but is this an alive thing? Or has it died a long time ago? And we're holding on, we're holding something, we're hoarding something. We all have this amazing pearls of wisdom that we carry within us, this creative force that we're connected to. And many people think, oh, I'm just going to put a book out. I've been told my whole life, you're gonna write a book. Okay, what's it going to be about? I could write fiction. I could write nonfiction. I could write a tutorial. I could write a lot of things. Writing is not for writing's sake. Writing is for purpose. And even in my journaling, I write for purpose. I write for a reason. We have a responsibility to each other as sisters to be heard and be seen. And we have a lot of wisdom to share with the world, so let's get it out there. We have a lot to teach each other. Have a blessed day, and I will see you in prayer. Bye-bye.